Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Voices from the Mausoleum, and welcome back to another episode of Saturday Horror Movie Reviews. I'm here with Ron.
Hello.
So I'm trying to think. I think this may come out before your influential horror, but either way, they're going to be close together, I think, based on the schedule. But anyway, so you posted about this movie a little while ago, and it's a movie that I really enjoyed. So when I was like, oh, maybe I want to do a movie review. So the movie we're talking today is the 2016 movie, The Belko Experiment. So this is streaming on Tubi right now. I think everywhere else you have to rent. As of right now, the Belko Experiment is sitting at a 6.1 out of 10 on IMDb. 44% on Metacritic, 74% on the Google, and then the audience score from Rotten Tomatoes is at 40%.
Really?
Yeah.
The
scores on this are like almost kind of middle ground, but not really as high as I was thinking they were going to be, because I don't think I looked at that when I watched this for the first time. But
maybe Rotten Tomatoes is they just pick the rotten reviewers.
Yeah, well, and typically their their critic reviews are like really bad. Like it's like they hate movies. Like I don't even know why they do it. It's really bad. So quick synopsis. In a twisted social experiment, 80 Americans are locked in their high-rise corporate office in, I think it's Bogota, Colombia, and ordered by an unknown voice coming from the company's intercom system to participate in a deadly game of kill or be killed. That's a pretty good synopsis.
I think so.
Sorry, my cat's being really loud. Come here.
Just come got here my attention, because when I read it, I was just breezing through Tubi to see what was interesting. Yeah. I saw it and I was like, that sounds cool. Give it a try.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if I don't remember, because I watched it not long after it came out, but I know that I don't remember if it got a theatrical release, but I know that I rented it, was my first watch. Okay. So I mean, if you want to check it out, if you like what we have to say, then it's definitely like, you don't have to pay for it. It's on Tubi. So yeah, and this is crazy, because like this, I was thinking about this when I rewatched it. This cast is crazy. Yeah. Like it's got John Gallagher Jr., Tony Goldwyn, I think her name is Audrey Ariona, John C. McGinley, Melanie Diaz. Who was the other big one in this? Michael Rooker. Huge cast. Like there's a lot of people in this movie, and that's not even all of them. That's just the ones in the the front of the list. So huge cast. Yeah. So if you had to give this out of 10 a rating, what would you give it?
I would give it an 8.
Okay.
Yeah. It had my attention. And after even a second viewing, it was just as captivating as the first one. You have to be in the mood for it. If you're looking for just kind of like the action, it just right from the get-go, the suspense is there, and it just hour and a half whips by.
I agree. And it's not one of those horror movies that's like 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
1 hour and 30, I think, is perfect for this. Yeah, so this is actually an 8 for me too. I really like this one. I think it's definitely an above average movie. The scores are really surprising to me. I think that the cast, the acting, that, like you said, the suspense, and there's things that really just work really well that we'll talk more about when we get to spoilers. But there's so many pieces to this story from like you said, the very beginning that make you go like, ooh, like, that doesn't work. Like, that sounds like not a good thing. Like, there's just so many things, even from the very beginning, when we get like all of our introductions, where you're just like immediately unsettled.
Yeah.
And it's really good at keeping that pace throughout the whole thing. There's very little downtime in this film. Very little downtime.
Yeah. I don't know why it wasn't bigger. It just,
yeah,
it's pretty extreme. That could be one of the reasons, because a lot of people don't like the extreme. I was going to say something, but I didn't want to say, throw in any kind of a spoiler at the moment, but it just,
Extreme is good, I think. It's very it's unsettling, like in multiple levels. It's definitely got gore. It's got some really just like these moments where you just like question your faith in humanity. That happens quite a bit. But yeah, it's very entertaining, I feel like. And I'll be honest, I know we're not going to say too much about it right now, but the ending, I was amazed at how satisfied I was with that ending. For it to be the way that it was just really well done. And the guy that's in it, the Gallagher, John, is it John Gallagher? I already forgot what it was. Gallagher Jr. He's the antagonist from Hush, the mass killer.
Yeah.
And he was phenomenal in that too. I mean, I just think he's like, those are the only two things I know that he's been in for sure, but he was brilliant in this. I really liked him a lot. Yeah, I think acting, atmosphere, pace, the effects were very convincing. The storyline, I'll be honest with you, felt very like it could be real. Like it didn't feel like a made up story.
Yeah. That could be another reason, because it does make you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because it forces you to think, what would I do?
Yes.
If I was in that situation? And there's probably a lot of people who are like, I don't even want to think about that, because it shines a light on themselves. Them feel bad, because there's a lot of people who go, well, I would do this, and then it doesn't make them feel good about themselves. And they're like, yeah, I didn't like this movie. It made me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. Yeah, because it's like either there's not like there's not really like a happy choice. Like the option, there's only two options, and they're both not good. So like you either, those are the choices. So what do you do? You're right. No, that's really, and I like those concepts in films. That's one of my favorite things when they use that in like, dystopian, post-apocalyptic type stories, because when you start to see what people are really like when things are not comfortable for them anymore, when people are put in these really obscure situations, who are they going to really be? And it's scary to think about. Scary.
Yeah. Because I remember sitting there more the second time I watched it. The first time I thought about it, but the second time I was really going to go, okay, what would I have done here? What would I have done there? And there was a lot of soul searching in that one.
Yeah. Yeah, because you're looking at it differently the second watch, because you know some of the bigger stuff, so you tend to focus on some of the smaller things that you either didn't catch or didn't really focus on before. Yeah, because I've probably seen it, like, including the rewatch, I've probably seen it like 3 or 4 times at this point, because I do really like it. And I definitely think because there's kind of a lot in it, it probably warrants more than one watch in general. Yeah. That's probably all I have for Unspoiled. You want to jump into spoilers?
Yes, I certainly do.
You perked right up. Yes. So if you have not seen the Belko Experiment, it is currently streaming on Tubi for free with ads. So definitely recommend going to watch it. It is a really good movie. And so, so Ron and I are going to jump into spoilers. So you go first. What are you thinking? What do you want to talk about?
Oh, where to start? Well, for one thing, to all your viewers, never work in Colombia. And the other thing is that Belko Industries sucks as a company. Don't apply there either. So don't go to Colombia.
And don't work for Belko.
No matter how good the pay is, Belko is not the company for you.
Yeah, this introduction that we get, where we're kind of seeing all the little characters and their little friendships, relationships, and we're kind of getting our little backgrounds together. Like, it's funny because I remember even in the first watch, because I knew the premise, because I think I'd seen the trailer. Like, I remember thinking about how cute some of those interactions were and going, oh God, they're all going to die. Like, I remember thinking that in my head, because I'm like, there's a reason they're showing you all of these little details. There's a reason. And so you get into these little, like, the two characters that banter back and forth when one of the ants gets out of the ant farm, and they're like being so cute and friendly. And you're just like, oh my God. Then you've got like the love interest, you've got the family man, the boss, like you've got all these different characters. And I'm just like, this is not good. They are showing us this stuff to just break our hearts. Like you just know right away. It's
Yeah.
so unsettling. And they're like really over the top, like cheesy smiles to each other.
Yeah. They're like fist bumping, you know, in the thing. And it's just like a commercial, like a Coke commercial. It's like, have a Coke. And yeah, workplace is great, you know. But the way they interjected small little things, like it'd be like everything's happy, 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 and then all of a sudden, like they flash up, you know, the monitor screen, their monitor room,
Random stuff. Yeah.
yeah, and then you're kind
Yeah.
of like, okay, they're being, you know, watched, or you know, everyone's starting in their day, and
Mm-hmm.
then you know, you have the car thing. Why are people being turned away, and other people being like, open your car, you know, the not
Less
the hood,
search.
the trunk, and you're kind of like, it was so well done. It was just like happiness, and then throwing in these just little pieces, and it wasn't gratuitous. It was just like really unsettling things just thrown in every so often.
Yeah. Enough to make you not trust the happy, like just enough to make you go, oh no. Well, and then like, so because this happens in this is like the first 10 or 15 minutes of this film is just this. And so like when he goes into, and I'm not going to remember any of their names. If you've been watching my channel, you know that names are not my strong suit. But when our main guy, John Gallagher's character, when he goes up to the guy that has the kids, he's like asking him, he's like, where is everybody? And he's like, oh, all the locals got sent home.
Yeah.
Immediate red flag. And he's the first person to question anything. He's like, I don't think that sounds good. Like he's the first person to question anything. And so it was like, as soon as he said that, I was like, that's not good. Like that. Like,
Yeah.
there's so many good things in that opening few minutes.
Yeah. Or something even just as simple as, you know, he's looking out the window. I think his name was Mike.
That's right. You're right. It's a very simple name. I don't know how to remember that. It is Mike. Yep.
And he looks out the window, and the shot is just this, like, one of the guards that was at the front doing the searches walking into some creepy looking hangar,
Warehouse thing.
you know, or even the picture of the high. It's not even a boom shot. It must be like a drone shot where just showing where the place is situated. I'm like, wow, you're very alone and exposed there. It's like dead earth all around it, you know? It's like a killing field.
Yeah, and it's like this, it really concretes in like this feeling of like isolation. Like that's it. It's just you and everybody else in the building that you know is still there. And it's like, yeah, it's really because, and then of course, like when we get our introduction to the new girl, she they're giving her all this stuff. They're giving her like, you know, oh, here's your car, your apartment, your new phone, your new, like all this stuff. And then he's like, and then to your point, happy, not happy. Then he goes, did you do your paperwork for your tracker? And she was like, and then she's like super hesitant. He's like, well, it's for your own safety. People get kidnapped here all the time. And you're just like, what?
Yeah. 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 And
I don't think that made me feel better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
it was just, I don't know. I thought, especially from like a writer standpoint, I was just like, I wish I had come up with this. It was so clever and just so well put together and nuanced. I guess that's a perfect word for it. They
Yeah, I
didn't
agree.
throw it in your face. It was just very nuanced, and it was kind of, you know, tick, tick, tick. And then, you know, they build it up with all these small things, and the questions start happening. And then boom, you get that intercom announcement. And it didn't take long. Like it seemed like a lot was happening, but it was still in a short time. And then wow.
And then it's so true because like I really feel like this does a pretty good job of capturing like real reactions, because I think like if this were to happen in real life, I think that those moments of like, is this a joke? Like, I think because it's such an awful thing to consider being real in the moment, our brains would be like, yeah, okay. You know, I think that's a very like logical reaction at first. And I have this thing, and I feel like this about a lot of different things, but it kind of applies to this too. Sometimes when people review movies or they're talking about movies, they expect people to make outsider opinions like about the situation. So like as a viewer, we know that this is about to get extremely messed up. We already know going into it. We are not the people in that situation. These characters are going to react emotionally like this is real life, you know? And we can say all day long, oh, I'd survive the zombie apocalypse, or I wouldn't do this, I would do this, and I wouldn't go there. But until you're in that real life situation as a different person, you don't know that. And so I thought that this did a really good job of giving us very authentic reactions, like from different perspectives of all the people that we see in that building.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, and you know, there's a seed of doubt, because you're like, I mean, there's that one guy, I can't remember. I don't even know they named him, but he was just like, you know, this is all, you know, fake. And the other guy with the, you know, he's high all the time, you know.
Oh yeah.
Put it in our water. It's just there, as you said, all the different, you know, viewpoints that were happening. But then the shutters start going up.
Yep.
And it just ramps things up even more, you know. And I don't know. It's I don't know. And the CEO, he handled it very well at the beginning, and they all came down.
Yeah.
They were getting everyone water, you know, because they'd shut off
the
air conditioner or the heat or whatever. And then it was like, he seemed, you know, he's got the right answers.
Yeah.
You know? Even if I wouldn't, in the back of my mind, I'd be going, yeah, I don't know. It kind of makes sense what you're saying, but you know, and but how swiftly attitudes change, you know, especially with that COO, you know, he it was just, I don't know. I was totally engaged in it. And then you're kind of like, okay, that's at the point where you're going, what would I do?
Yeah.
So for me, like I'd be like, well, I'm thinking it's not a hoax, because when the show go up, but I'm thinking, you know, I wouldn't want to be killing anybody. I don't think I could do that at the beginning anyways. I'd be going, in case it's like, well, we just wanted to see if you were a bad enough person you would kill someone, you know. Like, you're bad. I just like, I don't think I could bring myself. Now things do change as the movie goes on, my attitude. But at that point where some people were, you know, already ready to go, I don't think I would have been quite ready at that point.
Yeah, no, there's this whole concept of like, the only reason some people don't do bad things is because they know they can't without consequence, or they couldn't with at least maybe potentially having consequences. And so when you remove the element of consequences, that true self kind of just like bubbles up, and it's just like, this is who I am. And it's crazy to see, like, to be honest, I think because of a couple of these characters are typecasted, and I've seen them in similar roles before. Like Rooker, that's his name. Yeah. His last name is Rooker. The guy that played Merle from The Walking Dead. He was someone that I like immediately didn't trust, but then like that whole situation with him and the other guy, and they're like down in that I thought I knew what was going to happen. And then I was like, oh, I did not know what was going to happen. That scene was really smart because you see the differences in how they appear and their mannerisms and how they're acting. And you think, okay, I already know who's going to do what. And then it happens so many times where you're like, okay, I was completely wrong. Did not know that was going to happen. And the first time that one of those things, the tracker things went off, I was like, that added the trackers. That's such a smart thing. Like that adds so much anxiety to the entire film.
Yeah.
So smart.
Yeah. Cause that's it. You're like right on the edge going, well, you know, what would I do? No, I wouldn't buy into that. I just kind of wait and see what happened. And then the person next to you, back of their head blows up. And at first, it happens on the roof, right? That's the first death. So you think it's a sniper. you
You're not
figured, well,
thinking.
yeah, you're not thinking about the tracker or anything. You just thought
Hmm.
you're exposed to the roof. You see the people with guns down below, the soldiers.
You're just like, okay,
So
well,
they're just want to push you back, and and then it automatically goes down to the floors, and it's just like pop, 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 and you're like,
at
what is
random.
going on? And that
Yeah.
whole other twist comes. Now I'm thinking I'd be a bit more inclined to be slide over to that willing to kill my fellow man at that point, because your survival mode is that kicking in.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd still be on the ground, but I'd be sliding a bit more, because you'd be freaking out pretty bad.
Yeah.
I would imagine.
And it shows the different perspectives of that too, because in those instances, of course, there's two reactions. When your fight or flight kicks in, it's like, are you someone who could do that? Or are you someone who couldn't? And we got to see all of that, because there were several people that were like, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. And then the whole like, well, we'll line them up by age. And I'm like, oh, see, those are the type of things that I feel like would genuinely happen.
Yeah.
That these people would put themselves in charge of the situation, or add to the people in charge of the situation, and try to make decisions based off of those things that automatically remove them as a choice, because it's like, oh, well, if we do the elderly, I'm not going to be in that category. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and it's cool, because like you do see, because we got all of our background on the different people in the beginning, like I felt like it was so hard for me, because I think is the Australian, the family guy, the guy that has the kids.
Yeah.
He's like, I feel for him, because I think if there was ever going to be a situation that I could hurt another person, kill another person, whatever, it would be to get back to my child. Like, I think like that is something that would be a huge motivator for me.
Yeah.
But even still, his choices irritated me so bad when he like ends up siding with the boss, and like that whole, I'm like, he made me so mad with that shit. Like,
Especially when he squealed.
oh my, yes, I remember about that. Yes,
Michael asked me to give me his gun. I was like, oh, whatever. Hope you die a bad death.
I was at that point too. I was like, you know what? I don't even care. Your family's better off. You
Yeah. Yeah. So here's a question for you.
Yeah.
Would you have tried to cut it out of your head like Mike did?
No.
I was watching this, go, huh? I can't.
No
But
way.
then as soon as he started doing it, I thought I knew at that point what was going to happen, because
Yeah.
they obviously were monitored, and it was like, Michael, put down the scalpel. It was like Hal from 2001 Space Odyssey. It was like, Michael, put down that scalpel. We're going to blow your head off.
Yeah, and it's the tone for the messages is quite funny, because it is very even, just kind of like there's not a lot of emotion. It's just like a
nonchalant.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I always say that, like, if I was ever in like a Saw movie, I wouldn't make it, because I would never be, I can't even put eye drops in my own eyes. Like, I would not be able to do, like, I just would not be able to do anything that involved hurting myself, like my own body horror. Like, I would not be able to do that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
Yeah, it's I mean, because I was thinking about it, and I was going, because I know when you get really frustrated,
Mm-hmm.
you're willing to do things. Because I remember
That's true.
I was at a camp when I was younger,
Mhm.
and I was playing football, and anyways, I got tackled, and I fell down on my thumb, and so it dislocated where it almost looked like a 4. And it just so happened that the nurse or the doctor had gone on a overnight trip with some of the campers, so no one really could help me, and I was away from home. I was freaking out. I remember putting underwater, because back then, that's what seemed to cure everything. Put it underwater. Put it underwater. I was in cold water trying to do this, and I was upset, and I was like, what am I going to do? There's no nurse. No one's going to be able to look at it. It's like it's throbbing, and I was kind of holding it in my hand, and I was trying to and then I got so mad and so frustrated with the whole situation. I just snapped it back into place, and it got so swollen. But then it fixed it. I mean, I had to deal with the swelling. So I was thinking, because I thought of that when I watched the movie. I thought, if I was getting frustrated, the stupid things in my head, it's like, I'm just gonna cut the thing right out, kind of thing. But once again, if they're monitoring everything, they're not going to allow that.
Yeah. I think if he had been able to do that, it would have been too big of a plot hole for me. It would have irritated me. Because for them to have gone through everything they've been through at this point, not including things we're going to talk about when we talk about the ending in a second, but like they would not have gone through all of that and not been able to detect when it was being messed with. Like, that's not a thing. Like, so the fact that that was there was like a really good choice to keep it that way, because otherwise, if he'd been able to, that would have like wrecked the rest of the movie, because then he'd had nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
And then everybody could just take their things off and hopefully get it done faster, then they can blow everybody up.
Yeah.
Different kind of movie.
Yeah. And the way they kept it, though, like he went right to the very limit of 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And so that kind of added like tension to.
Yeah. Because there's not really like, I mean, I guess if there was a main character, he would be one of them, but there's definitely not just like one main character. So I remember the first time I watched it thinking, well, this is about to be when he dies, because there were so many other characters we spent time with that died, so it wasn't too far out of the realm of possibilities that they just kill him.
Yeah. And what was another thing was really interesting, now you bring that up, is that with just the quick vignettes they did, you actually were pretty engaged with a lot of the characters.
Yeah.
They weren't just superficial. It was the small parts they gave them were really well done. So you're like, you knew each one, it was just, each one showed a bit of their personality. So you knew a bit about them, even if it was just that ant scene you'd mentioned, and joking. It's just, so yeah, when each death, you were like, oh, really?
Because you got invested so early. And you have to think too, like, of all, like, a lot of times what happens when you have movies, I've said this about another film recently, but I can't remember which one it was, but there's like, this is a really big cast. This is a lot of people that have like repeating moments on camera. And so like when you're thinking about a cast that big, to be able to have that many people and for them to all have character depth, that's pretty impressive in my opinion from a writing standpoint, because typically you have a couple of really good characters and then the rest of them fall flat, or these generic archetypes or whatever. But this, like you said, everybody had like some depth to their story and who they were, and we cared. Some of them we wanted to die, but most of them we were like, oh no, like we didn't want that to happen to them, So yeah.
And then they threw in the whole armory thing, and that just added a whole other dimension to it. It's like, why do you want to go in there? Nothing good is going to come of that, but you can kind of figure what it's going to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's
like, so this movie reminds me of two other movies that I have seen. And one of them is called The Experiment, which is based off a 1970s experiment that was actually done I forget what it's called. I can't remember, drawing a total blank, but it's got Adrian Brody, Forrest Whitaker. But it's the experiment where they did these psychological evaluations and they categorized people into groups of either prisoners or guards. And they go into the prison and they notice that within a day, people were already giving into their roles. Yeah. And the experiment in real life had to be cut short because of the violence that ensued. And it's very, it reminds me of this for a couple of reasons. It's like a social commentary essentially on what happens when you give people these different positions or situations. But it also is like, it kind of reminds me of it because kind of like setting them up for this. So like the armory thing felt to me like a setup, like it was there for a reason. Like going into all of this, like there's all these things that are about to happen and there just happens to also be this. And then it's kind of like that in the experiment with Adrian Brody, because like there's things that are set up to add to everything else that's already happening. And then there's another movie. I can never remember the name of this one. It takes place in a mansion and there's like 10 people, I think. And basically what happens is they are told that they have until a certain amount of time to kill each other and they can get X amount of money. But it's the same similar principle, except this one has a reward.
Right.
I won't tell you how that one ends because it's actually really good. It was a random B film I found on Netflix like a decade ago, but it's very similar to this too because it's got all of those moments of like, well, it's me or them. What do I do? Like, and I love stuff like that. These things that like question humanity and like the goodness in people when all of that other stuff is removed. That's scarier than any ghost, monster. I mean, anything. That is the scariest thing to me is like raw human nature, you know?
Yeah. What's like it just something simple as like Saw.
Yes.
What are you gonna do? Are you gonna cut
Yeah.
off a leg? You gonna, cut someone open to get the key? It's just
Yep.
what would you do? But
It's crazy.
yeah, but that armory thing,
Yeah.
you know, hopefully you're not going to feel poorly towards me. but that was a turning point for me because where the guards tell him to stop blowtorch, and then Mike blows up the butane
Oh,
tank.
yeah.
I'd have shot all three of those guys.
Yeah.
Like I mean, of course, I have the benefit of watching, from a movie
Sure.
and
Yeah.
knowing the characters. But I was like, these threes want to get into an armory. The one guy, I mean, is already semi crazy,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The CEO's turning. The other guy's just like a follower. So I'd be looking at it. I've got a gun in my hand. I'd be like, nothing is good is going to come of it. It'd be like pop, pop, pop.
No, I have the same thought actually, because I would be thinking about how many people I was about to help.
Yeah.
Potentially. I mean, obviously the numbers kind of keep whittling, but in the moment, that's how I would look at it, is how many people would they go out and hurt, and then, it kills me because like the CEO is like trying to, when he's talking to them to try to get like the access or whatever, he's very like trying to rationalize, and he's like, and I'm just like watching like, you're such a piece of shit. Just shut up. Like nothing that you're saying makes any sense at all at this point. You're just trying to get your way. But it's so interesting, like, because that's what would really happen with people who have personality types like that. They really would try to use that charisma, that charm to oversimplify a situation to get their way. And it made me so angry because like I've seen that in real life applications. And I was just like, oh, fuck this guy. Like I was so mad.
Yeah, because at that point, when we were talking about having to look in on yourself, I thought to myself, it was almost without a doubt. I mean, especially the second viewing, because I know everything that happens, and I was just like, as soon as those three went there, there's nothing good is going to come from opening up that armory.
No,
and plus I know that the CEO was actually a military, like a specialist.
Yeah.
Because one of the guys that from HR squeals on him, says you're like a special ops guy.
Yeah, something. Yeah.
So I'm like, here's a special ops guy. He wants to get into the armory, and we're all supposed to kill ourselves. And now we're up to like 30 people. I'm like, well, there's going to be 3 less right now.
Yeah.
So, you kind of look at yourself at that point, because you make that judgment call and you go, am I a bad person?
Yeah. And then, so with all of this stuff that happens, we get like so many almost like chase scenes, like where those were all really well done and like executed, I think, like really, really well. So what was your like thought process going into this ending? Because the ending is wild. And I'll be honest, I don't think, because of everything else going on, I could even think of the possibilities of something like this being the ending. Like it just didn't even like cross my mind.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I kind of figured that he wasn't going to be able to just walk out.
Well, that I figured, yes.
Because we know it's being monitored. Mm-hmm. We know there's something in that hangar. Mm-hmm. So I figured that it was somehow going to lead to that. There had to be some kind of final confrontation.
Yeah.
But even though I knew he had the bombs,
Mhm.
I guess I was so engrossed in seeing, what was going to happen. He was dragged in kind of thing that, I hadn't even occurred to me that he would
Me
have.
either.
And the thing too, they kind of, I wouldn't say they cheated, but when he's being dragged in and stuff, you don't really see him putting anything into pockets or something or
Sure.
bumping into them. He's lying there when they're dragging him in. It's
Yeah.
only afterwards when he says it, and then they go recap of how he did it. And I thought
Yeah.
that was a bit of a cheat.
Yeah. I'm with you. Yeah.
It would have been, they could have made it, where he stumbles and you see his hand go into something, but there was no movement on the initial way there. So, they could have made it subtle and then gone back and shown it and then gone, oh, yes, I saw him do that. But if you go back and you look, they're just dragging him and there's no real sleight of hand where he's putting, things in pockets. I thought that would have been a bit better.
Yeah, because you wouldn't have needed to see. They could have still kept it a secret until the end, and to your point, and then just had that one thing be slightly different, because we wouldn't have needed to see it the whole movie for it to have had the same impact. And it being last minute still works, but I agree. I think it would have worked better if they had gone and done it that way instead. Yeah.
But it clearly opens itself up to, a second movie. Like I think I have like the champions. Cage match where all the
some of these shots, like the ones you can see like around, it's a little blurry, but some of those shots on the screen, I was just like, oh, I wonder if like we're gonna see more of that one. Like some of them just look really crazy.
Yeah.
Like what, but like I don't know. It's just crazy. Like you see all the survivors walk out and there's like all this mayhem and craziness, and you're just like, damn, how many people just died today? Like,
I know.
Oh,
I know. And some of them are just splattered in blood.
Yes.
Yeah. There's a few, because I was looking around at the screen and I was like, wow, some of them are really bloodied themselves. And
yeah. Yeah, because some of them probably were the bad guys, like the ones that were like, all right, let's do this, like,
been waiting all my life for this.
Yeah. I can do what, and there's no consequences. Yeah. So that to me is so scary because, well, and then I think like, and I know this is like such a weird thing, like afterthought, but then I think about like what this would feel like when it's all over. Like, what do you do? How do you go back to normal life? You have no job now. You just killed however many people. And even if you didn't, you can't prove that you didn't, like everybody's dead except you.
Yeah.
It's crazy, like to think about those details of like what it would be like after that is like,
I was gonna say, I don't think you really have to worry about it because I don't think they were going to be probably letting you go anywhere anyways, other than in the back of a truck to prepare you for that next round, whatever, because they said stage 2.
Yeah, so that would make for a pretty neat sequel if they ever did it. I mean, this is from 2016, so they've probably not, but if they ever did, that would be a really good way to do it for sure.
Yeah, it's I don't know.
The concept of human beings orchestrating this, though, and all of these people coming out when we see all those screens, I was not ready for that. I was like, holy shit. Like, we already knew the warehouse was where it was at. We already knew because, like, we'd seen the guy go in and it was like the only other building there. So, like, we knew, like, there's something going on there. But that reveal was really good. I honestly, like, some people may have been able to see that coming, but I just wasn't able to think that far ahead. Like, when I was watching it, because, like you said, you're so engaged. You're watching it, like, enthralled. And so, like, watching it that way, I just wasn't trying to figure out much. I was just kind of along for the ride, so to speak. And so, and I think that is also a testament to the writing because I am always trying to figure shit out. Like, always.
Yeah. That's me. Same with me. I was totally engaged. I was just, it was mesmerizing almost. It's like, it was just like a blood fest.
Yeah.
I don't think since like Battle Royale, I don't know if you ever seen that. Not since then have I been like, wow, what an interesting concept.
It is really unique. I
To be,
yeah.
I was gonna say, to be totally gruesome. Uh, did you have favorite deaths?
Huh. My favorite deaths.
Doesn't mean have to be like favorite, but ones that were just like,
Really.
wow.
So I think the most satisfying was the creep. Oh my God, what's his name? He played the doctor in Scrubs. Like, what's his name?
Mr. Axe in his head.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew. I figured you were gonna pick
His,
that one.
yeah, I was going to look his name because I couldn't remember it, but because, he's one of the ones from the beginning. You're like, mm-mm. You're like, I don't trust him. I don't like him. He did all the things. And then, as the story unfolds, you're like, oh, he did all the things that I thought he was going to do. He's exactly who I thought he was. Like,
Yeah.
so that was probably the most satisfying. And then I think the most sad is probably the one that was just like, oh, was the girlfriend. I forget her name too.
Yeah.
She made me sad because I was like, oh, I mean, I had a feeling with it being the subject matter that it was, we were not going to get a super happy ending anyway, but still you have that hope. Cause like, I actually I liked her. I felt bad for her. And I was like, when she died, and because then we also get his reaction to her dying and it's just like very emotional. So I was like, it's kind of sad, but what about you?
For me, well, I mean, the revenge death to the head, because he was in Platoon where he played creepy guy
Yes,
too.
you're right.
All he
You're
did
right.
he was just like such a, can't think of the word, but he was always sucking up to Behringer's character.
That's right.
But for me, I mean, other than that, I was just like, yeah. But I was surprised at how she went at him. Like it was gruesome death.
Yeah, it was.
But for me, the one that I was just, I don't know, it was just the most, I guess, because it surprised me so much, was the new hire.
Oh,
she managed to go through the whole thing. And then the whole death was elevator door opens, bang, and that was it. I was like, really? It was just so sudden. And that's a ballsy decision to make for the film. And I thought, I said, kudos to you guys. I said, that
for
was
doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I mean, you watched her. She went through this. She went through
a lot.
I mean, she killed the guy, one of the mechanics in the basement,
the guy downstairs. Yeah.
To battle for her own life, surviving the whole elevator fiasco. All that, and then just for that to happen, it's that for me was it kind of goes back to, I guess for me, like Night of the Living Dead.
I knew you were going to say that, where he gets through the whole damn thing.
Yeah, and I guess that's why I was like, wow. It was like almost an homage to that. I was like,
I know, I thought the same thing, and I had a feeling when you brought it up, I was like, oh, I bet he's going to talk about it. Yeah, that's what it reminded me of too, because you do you almost get to a point where you're like, oh, she might actually make it. Like, how crazy would that be? And then you're so robbed of it because it's like there's only a couple of times in the whole movie that I felt a little less tense. Like, I wouldn't say comfortable, but definitely where I had a little hope, and then that was one of those times you're like, oh my God, she's been through so much. And then that rug just gets yanked out from under your feet. You're just like, really?
Yeah. Cause I thought she was the wild card because she didn't have a tracker.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, somehow because she doesn't have a tracker, she's going to be able to help whatever at the end. And that was going to be the wild card that helps them escape because they didn't see her coming because she was such a new hire.
Yeah.
That was the one hole in their plot. And then to have that happen, you're just like, wow, you pulled the rug right out. Any hope that, you had.
Yeah.
So that was really, I thought, well done as well.
I agree. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, this is a great movie.
It is. People should watch it more.
Yeah, it's definitely better than a 6.2. Well, that's our thoughts on the Belko experiment. 2016. Like I said, it's on Tubi. if you've watched all of this and you still want to watch it, which I think you should, there's plenty of things we didn't talk about. Then you can go watch it for free right now on Tubi with ads. It is definitely a good movie. I do recommend it. Yeah, that's all I have for this one. I don't know what's coming out next. I try to recap, but I'm really bad at remembering everything. And this is later, so I don't know. I'm tired. It's been a long week. But anyway, thank you guys so much for hanging out with this episode of Saturday Horror Movie Reviews. Make sure you're subscribed and stuff. You know, I never say that, but make sure you're subscribed and following along so that when Ron's Influential comes out in a week or two, you can catch that as well, because that was a really fun conversation. We talked about a lot of stuff. And he had picks that have not been on anybody else's list, which was a lot of fun too. So make sure you circle back and check that out. As always, have a good rest of your weekend. Enjoy your week coming up, and I will see you in the next one.
Bye-bye. Hit that like button.